Groningen. And I'd like to give you some insight in what we do with my night council within our city. But before we start, I'd love to take you along a little history lesson among the start of our nightlife, exactly 100 years ago. Because just after the First World War, the world was shattered, and there was actually a group of Black American soldiers, and they did not want to go back to the United States because 1919 was the year with the highest amount of lynchings. And despite that, the French had a lot of colonies where they were not always being very nice, of course, but still, these guys were pretty well accepted in France and making music. And at a certain moment, their roots and blues from Louisiana blended with the French gypsy jazz. And that out of that blend of music, something really special came along, which led to the fact that music that made the normal people dance, so not the aristocracy in a palace or the peasants on a farmer party, but yeah, you could say that out of this merge of unlikely groups, clubbing kind of got started, because on the dance floor everyone was equal, and the big boss of the factory suddenly was the loser in the corner because he couldn't dance, and the cleaner guy was suddenly the king of the dance floor. So out of something horrible, something beautiful came out, which brought all kinds of people together, which started the Roaring Twenties and then gradually spread all over Europe. So I always say that in that time, modern nightlife started, and the middle class became bigger, and we started having the art of having fun. We became good at that. Now let's go back to my city, Groningen, because I've heard that Kirklees is in size kind of comparable, and that's interesting, of course, because we tend to look at the bigger cities usually. But in Groningen, we have quite an interesting city, because some of you might know it from Eurosonic Noorderslag Showcase Festival, which is a festival that discovered Adele and Dua Lipa before they were big. And one of the interesting things is that it came, I can't prove it, but we think it kind of came out of the fact that since 1983, Groningen has no curfew time. Because in that year, Groningen won from Atletico Madrid, FC Groningen. Yes, now we relegated to the second league, and we are 15th place, so that's pretty bad. But at that year, Groningen won from Atletico Madrid, and at that time it was still allowed to only have a party or go to a pub until 1 a.m. But at that night, it went on until 6 or maybe even later, and there was a quite courageous alderman of cultural affairs, and he said, hey, what if we allow bars to stay open as long as they like, when they have live music? So first I started with that, and it seemed to work. So the bars had live music, they could stay open, and it led to more beer sales, it led to more safety on the street, because there was always someone watching for each other, and also more cultural growth, because there was more hours in the night to play. It's a fact that we like to prove some way with some research, because we just assume that it leads to the current climate we have. But in '86, Noorderslag, like a band contest, came out, and not soon later, Eurosonic. Then, what about me? Why am I doing this? Well, in 2008, when I had slightly a bit more hair, I did my first presentation here in this picture at Eurosonic. And I did Academy for Popular Culture, and out of that started organizing concerts and tours with my metal band, and got into the side of funding culture and music export gradually. So I was pure metalhead, didn't even dare to enter a dance floor at that time. But at a certain moment, a friend of me from high school said, Merlijn, you're doing something with music and management. We're going to start a venue, and maybe it's something for you. And well, I needed an assignment to finish my study, so I thought, let's give it a try. And we started Subsonic, a place, a basement on the central square, where we could do whatever we wanted, where people could be themselves and be accepted for who they are. And I was 23 at that time, the other boys were 21. And yeah, it was a small place, but it was a place where talent could grow. And on a Saturday, for instance, we had €3 entrance before one, and after one, before one it would be for free, after one it would be €3. And even a big act like Skrillex and Noisia played there for free. So it was a place where people could develop themselves, express themselves, and even 18-year-old girls could come there and feel safe. And of course, it was not a place where people were only drinking herbal tea, But yeah, that's part of nightlife, of course. Eventually, we also started a restaurant and restarting a venue that was bankrupt. So that gave me some bit more experience on that field. And then at that time, I thought, okay, we need to unite as a city. So we started Popstad BV, where we had the venues, the booking agencies of bigger artists, managements, the rehearsal spaces, but also people from the municipality coming together on a regular basis, discussing issues, see how we could help each other. And then that led to a body which was quite unique, but also because of the small size of our city with the 250,000 people, it kind of worked, and we saw how we could adapt it. Then at a certain moment, we thought, okay, it would also be nice if we can have an overview of what's going on in the city, so that you can click on a certain category and find what you want. And you could compare it to Netflix, but we once in a municipal meeting asking for budget, we said, like, what if you could find all the events you want, just like on Pornhub? And all the municipality people actually understand exactly what we knew. And in the end, we got funding for this website. And it's actually a well-used website. And we hope other cities, for instance, when I'm in Rome, I don't know where to find the drum and bass party or the techno rave or the jazz show. And it's not only for music, but also for a vintage clothing sale or a Somalian cooking workshop. So gradually in Groningen, with all the stakeholders together, we started working on these kind of things. And for myself, at a certain moment, as happens with certain things, my club ended, and it was time to start something new. And something new was also not getting smashed every week in a dirty, dark basement, but actually talking a bit more about the policy side. And I was asked by the European Music Council if I wanted to join as a fellow member, which brought me in the world of umbrella organizations and classical music and policy making, which was quite a bit different than I did, but it learned me a lot, and I really admire the work of these people. And also I was asked to join the Pop Coalitie, which is the advisory board to the Dutch government, which tells them that music and culture is more than just a left-wing hobby, and sometimes it's framed. So now we're talking about the year of 2017. And after that year, the club was fully over, and I thought it's time to be in a neutral position and take the position as night mayor. And for those who don't know what a night mayor is, as a night mayor, you're kind of the bridge between three different groups that need each other but do not really understand each other that often. The first group is public servants, politicians, policymakers, institutions. So everyone that has to deal with the night, but also often goes to bed at 10 p.m. The second group is the professionals making their money in the night. So that can be the bar owners, but also the DJs, the bouncers, security, cleaners, even prostitutes, everyone that makes a buck in the night. And the third group is the party people, the people enjoying, expressing themselves, being awake till very late. And they all speak a different language. They all need each other, but also often do not understand each other. And I think as a task of the night mayor, it's a job to make sure that these people align better and that we get on the table to each other, solve the problems, or even make sure that the problems before they become a problem are being solved. And that was what I thought I should do. And this was the third time I joined, and I finally won. And you can see here on this picture how thirsty and how happy I was. So then from 2018, so that's already 5 years ago, and I will passing the torch soon because I should not become a kind of a Putin after such a while. But I started with trying to tackle certain problems in the night. So first of all, you have safety in all aspects. And that's both from sexual harassment to violence to the care of people that have taken too much alcohol or other substances. Sound restrictions, there's sometimes, of course, neighbors complaining about sound, though we're quite lucky in Groningen that people realize that in the city center, there's just a lot of things going on, and that if you really want to live quiet, you should not live in our city center. Well, alcohol and drugs, always an integral part of the night, of course, and will always be, so we just need to take care of that. Program balance, that we have talks between organizers so that we in a small city don't eat up each other even while we are competing And I think that's very important. And that's also, when I still have my nightclub, a mission we always had in mind. And then one of the biggest issues, who is financing? Because the municipality always says, yeah, it's something for the business owners. And the business owners say, like, yeah, well, we're trying to do our business, but we need some help with the other aspects. So in the end, that led to the fact that finally, in 2 weeks, I will have a meeting about structural funding for my night council. And that's where we're getting now. Because after a year, I found out I can't do this on my own. I need smarter people with bigger network around me. So we started the Night Council to tackle these problems. And that started in August 2019. And we have Anastasia taking care of these topics, which is very important, of course. Lucia, who was also a bar lady at my club and very deeply into the topic of sexual harassment prevention, and is now giving trainings for students and also for bars. And we already raised budget recently in a few months that bars can get these trainings for free. Geeske is dealing more with the mainstream bars, because we as Night Underground often tend to think that the underground is our main thing, but of course 90% of the bars is still mainstream, and Geeske has been leading 2 of those clubs and is doing a very good job. Jorik and Peter take care of the music, from electronic to live music, and everything around that. Misha is informing students and bar staff how to deal with substances and making sure that people do it in a responsible way, and he's very good at that. And for me, one of is keeping this bunch together, doing talks to the media and that kind of stuff. And we are working on the Night City Hall, where I will go in a bit deeper, because in 2024 we now are at the point that I will say there should be a new night mayor. I will still stay head of the foundation to ensure that my follow-up person will be enabled to get in the right network. And we will be doing these workshops for bars more and more. We finally will receive funding, I guess, because we're meeting with 4 departments of the municipality. So I can't imagine that diversity, culture, economic affairs, and safety, when we sit together, will say, well, Merlijn, we don't have budget. But it took us nearly 5 years to finally be taken serious, and a lot of lobby. And the Night City Hall, which is kind of a safe space in the city center. And this is a Dutch graph, because I don't have an English one yet. But it should be a place where people in the night can get help in a preventive way or in an acute way when something went wrong. So there is medical specialists and mental social workers that can help you with all kinds of information without any taboo, just to ensure that when people have been sexually harassed and they don't know if they need to file a complaint at the police, or if they want to calm down with a coffee and a little sandwich, or a question about alcohol and drugs, that they always can get help. And now we are lobbying for that. We did some test case in the new student introduction week in last August, and 2 weeks ago I was allowed in Liverpool at the Club Health Conference to tell about it, and next week in Berlin. So that's also good for our local lobby, for people to take it serious, because it's something new, and people are often a bit afraid to do something new. And within this network, we will collaborate with the municipality, the police, the health department, the addiction prevention center, the hospitality businesses, the youth work. So it's going to be a place that's dynamic, and we hope to inspire other cities in the future, when we have it working, that they will also have places like that in the city center. And since we are a small city, it's nice that we can align all these parties and try to bring them together, but it's still a hell of a job, as you can imagine. And the location is very central, and still in a quiet corner of the 2 main streets where people go out. So that's perfect. And and by talking about these things and making plans, I was also asked to, in 2020, for instance, to go to Kingston to tell how nightlife can make quite a dangerous city as Kingston also more safe. And from Sao Paulo to Chengdu, Bosnia. Now, with our Groningen ideas and plans, we're still going over the world. So also for Kirklees, that could mean that you don't have to be Berlin or Barcelona to make a difference. And as you can see here, the nighttime advocacy, and this is totally not a complete list, it grew a lot, but it's growing. And I think in a nutshell, this was my presentation.